we really don't know the stories that are behind the person that you're looking at. You have no clue. And so if we can really educate our community and give families resources and kids resources when they're feeling that struggle, they know we're all in here together in order to help each other and make a difference in this community and in our state.
Welcome to the Idaho Behavioral Health Authority podcast. In this episode, we observe Mental Health Awareness Month by sharing two programs that are making positive change in mental health for Idahoans. We also talk to a professor of health and performance about how you can improve and maintain your mental health and fitness.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Behavioral Authority podcast. This month is May, and we are getting into the weeds of Mental Health Awareness Month.
One of the things when I think about mental health is we're all human. We all have different needs. We all have our different challenges. And it's nice to know that there are support systems available in the state of Idaho to help us no matter what challenges we're facing.
In this next segment, we talked to Brenda Wilson, Executive Director of FY Idaho. This is a program that helps out with teens, adults, and their families as they go through treatment.
Yeah, so check it out.
Welcome back to the Behavioral Health Authority podcast. We are again discussing Mental Health Awareness Month. And with us today is Brenda Wilson with FY Idaho. So welcome, Brenda. We're going to discuss more about the activities next month. And welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Can you tell us what you do with FY Idaho?
Sure. So I am the Executive Director of FY Idaho. That also stands for Families and Youth of Idaho. So my job is to kind of serve as the leader of the organization with an amazing group of people to really advocate, educate, and navigate the mental health systems throughout the state of Idaho with our families and the kiddos that we serve.
Help me understand exactly what it is you guys do.
Sure. So our focus is mental health. So any individual who is looking for resources, specifically support or any kind of advocation, that's where our focus is. So we really want to work with our families throughout the state who are trying to navigate the system of mental health. It is not easy to navigate for professionals, much less the families who are looking for services. We have programs for our adolescents. We call them our youth or our teen programs. After school at the Boise Brick House. We're located here in Boise. We are statewide. However, we do have some localized events and activities for our kiddos to be able to come in and really just feel like they belong and be able to speak and have youth voice and talk about what they're feeling, what they need from us. We don't provide services like a psychiatrist would provide psychiatric services. We provide the resource, meaning we can let people know, hey, if you're having an issue with this or a challenge with that, here are some opportunities for you to reach out, and we can help them through it. When our adolescents are coming out of treatment centers, we offer services or resources, so to speak, for them to be able to know how to navigate that discharge. So that's kind of how we navigate that system with them. We have support groups for the families as well. We call them coffee chats, that they can meet with our certified family support partners in order to really have a voice as to what they're struggling with and what challenges they're seeing, and then how we can help them through that.
Is it support and education for families and youth? Yep.
So here's our rhyme: advocate, navigate, educate.
All right.
So yeah, and how we decide to use that, we can say, right? I know, it's kind of catchy. So those are the three main focuses. That's what we do. We help educate families and youth in the systems and how to navigate through them. And then we help them advocate for their voice, both on the youth side and on the family side. Because this is a tricky system to go through. And if you don't have somebody with you sometimes that does have that experience, we have a lot of individuals here that we work with that have lived experience. So they really can say, I understand what it feels like because I've been through something similar.
Mm-hmm. Right. What advice would you give to a parent who just realized that their child has a mental health condition and they haven't been able to figure it out yet? When they first get started, what advice would you give to them?
I would say, first of all, just surround yourself with people who are supportive, and organizations such as FY Idaho. You could call our family support line. You get our wonderful executive assistant, Cindy. She always answers those calls, and she can help get you or the adult, whoever it would be, the information that they need in order to really make sure that they're in the right spot. So it's just really educating. I think that's the biggest thing, is to just educate and know you're not alone, right? Sometimes you feel like you're the only person going through this, and that's not the case. And then just reach out to resources.
I imagine just trying to help children is just more complicated even than adults. They're still trying to figure out who they are, and then they get faced with a mental health condition. It's just a different set of challenges, isn't it?
Most certainly is. The thing about when you're working with kiddos is they're going through so many transitions in their life, whether it's, their hormonal challenges of going through puberty, right? Trying to figure out how to go from elementary school to middle school or junior high, depending on where you are, up into high school, and just how you navigate all the things that are happening in this world that are so different than maybe what the parents used to go through in their past. Social media is huge. We love social media. It's given us so many wonderful things, but it's also caused some challenges for youth really feeling like they belong, and how do they really show their real self, right, when they're showing it to the whole wide world. Yeah. And so, yes, I believe, and I have seen, I was a school teacher for many years, and I've seen a progression of what kids go through, and from the time that I taught school till now, and they really are faced with a multitude of challenges that did not exist in the same way as their parents may have faced, or, what they would have even 4 or 5 years ago.
When I think about, any kid, when I was a kid, without excessive challenges, there are still inherent challenges, despite, your changing body, your changing mood, you're trying to figure out who you are. But there's the, am I normal compared to my peers? Even back before social media, that was an issue. And now social media has not done that any favors, so it just, you have all these compounding issues that when whether you're a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, if you're having a crisis, that is likely one of the worst experiences you've had in your short life at that point. Those of us who are older, who have gone through a little bit of life, we're like, oh yeah, okay, I know how this goes. It's a cycle. I've been there, done it before. Here's how we get out of it. As a kid, even a small crisis can be the worst thing.
Huge.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You get the wrong haircut. Your face breaks out. You forgot your homework. Your backpack broke.
Yeah, forget it. I'm out. Yeah.
Right.
What's
you don't get
interesting,
invited to a birthday party.
Right? You're exactly right. The thing, and what's interesting is that, and you have a good point here, is that what it was like to grow up, if you don't experience mental health challenges, if you're not diagnosed with a severe emotional disturbance, it is hard enough to focus and get through just a regular day, right? Yeah. With all the things that just kiddos have without that. Now add that on top of it in a world where people don't quite understand how to speak about it yet, right? So we're still in that whole time period where we're trying to learn and understand. And what we're trying to do is help not allow judgment to cloud people's opinions and feelings, because you do not know these kiddo stories and you don't know the family stories. And so that's where Mental Health Awareness Month and then Children's Mental Health Acceptance Week is so important for us to share and really advocate for, because we really don't know the stories that are behind the person that you're looking at. You have no clue. And so if we can really educate our community and give families resources and kids resources when they're feeling that struggle, they know we're all in here together in order to help each other and make a difference in this community and in our state.
Yeah.
Well, how can we create a culture? How can we create an environment of communication that helps create a better funnel for those who are in need to find the support that they need?
I think getting the word out is the number one thing. Things like this podcast is amazing. Being able to really get out into the communities and share what we all do, I think that's number one. And then really be able to be approachable, because that's the other thing. If we're up there just preaching to, this is the way it has to be, people are not going to want to listen to you. We need to get into the schools. We need to get into where families are and really provide them that caring feeling and really share with them that we understand, because all of us that are in this system, whether we're employees, whether we're doctors, we have a reason that we do this, right? And so I think really showing that empathy is probably the biggest thing that can make a difference, because if we have empathy for others, they'll be willing to share and they'll listen when we have advice for them, or, hey, let me offer you this resource, or say, hey, let me go with you if you want, right, to this treatment team or this IEP at school. Just give them that guidance and that support.
Yeah. Even if you don't understand it, like serious emotional disturbance, it's a big deal. It's complicated. It's different for every person, but you can still empathize, right? Even if you don't totally get it.
You are so correct. And here's what I always try to do. This is my teacher brain going. I always try to help make it more like authentic for people to understand. So with mental health illness, mental health challenges, you don't usually see it. You could look at me and you wouldn't see that there was anything going on that maybe was causing me any grief. But if I had a broken arm, you would see it, right? It's very, very visual. If I didn't even have an arm, you would see it. And so you would be able to, when you approach me, you realize that there was something that was maybe different or unique about me, right? At that moment in time. Well, with mental health challenges, you don't see that. And so what we really need to do is really open up the conversation for people to really understand that we all are unique. We all have experiences, and some of them you cannot see. And the thing that is interesting, and this is why Mental Health Awareness Month is so important, it should be happening all the time. We should always be creating awareness. But when you talked about judgment, the thing that we need to really talk about is, why do we not judge people who go in for heart surgery? Why do we not judge people when they break their arm, they break their leg, or they, get some glass in their eye when something happens?
Or people go to physical therapy for some injury, and that's totally normal.
Yeah.
That is. We don't have campaigns to make people feel better because they have these, medical ailments, right? But the minute you talk about somebody going into inpatient stabilization for acute crisis, oh my gosh, the conversations that get spread are amazing because it's full of judgment. And all it is our brain. Our brain is just another part of our body. Why is the brain such a sensitive topic? And that's, people don't understand it because it's been shunned for so long. It's been talked about in a negative light. It hasn't been embraced in the fact that this is what makes us different. And guess what? We're all got something going on, and we're one event away from being that person that maybe we're judging that we should not.
Yeah. There's so much stigma around it. You talked about how people can't see it, but that's also because people hide it, because society doesn't want us to see it. They don't want to share it because of that stigma.
It's hidden. People want to hide it because they feel like there's something wrong with them, when really it's just a difference. It's something different about them. It's unique to them as an individual. And, it is interesting how that demographic, I guess, if you want to call it, that the people who like to judge about it, they have their own issues as well. They just aren't letting anybody know. And so, it's, don't judge a book by its cover type thing. You just have to pay attention to that. And that's really, I think, if we could just teach that we're all different, we're all unique. And if you have a question, ask, and if you don't want to ask the person, there's plenty of resources out there to understand it. And I think that's huge.
I think it's helpful for everyone to remember, just kind of like a little sage advice I got a long time ago is that everyone is dealing with something. Everyone is dealing with something. It could be minimal. It could be beyond your comprehension, but everyone is dealing with something. And the advice I got years ago is, your grace is required. Your understanding is not.
That's powerful. That's fantastic. And that's why when you're talking to somebody, you never know what they're going through, what their story is. I have seen time and time again, individuals start talking about things to somebody and they don't realize that the person may have just lost someone to suicide, or their family member or their child is in a psychiatric facility to help stabilize them so that their life is saved. And the person that's having this conversation and being judgmental about it doesn't even have a clue. And it's like, wow, come on. We don't that
And
let's
now
talk
I'm angry
about
because
that
they
with
cut me off on the
compassion.
freeway because their mind is focused on something, right? So
Right. Yeah, we don't know the story. We really don't. And that's just like you said, Grace, I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. And just if we can just lead with kindness, I mean, that's the big ask, right? That's what I want to leave with, like let's just lead with kindness, because if you're leading with kindness, you're not judging and you're not making up things in your head and being afraid.
yeah.
It's fantastic. I love that, Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brenda, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. And before we go, one other question is for anyone who wants to find out more about FY Idaho, where can they go?
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about social media. We have a website, fyidaho.org. You can give us a call at our family support line, or just give us a ring, and we'll get you through it.
All right. We'll put that in our show notes too, so that people can find it.
Yep.
That's perfect. Yep. fyidaho.org.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
In this next segment, we talked to Alejandra Del Toro with Empower Idaho. This is another organization that does a lot of things with people in Idaho, and we've got some great information coming ahead.
Well, hey everyone, in this interview, we're going to take a look at one of the programs that serves Idahoans within the state to better understand one of the aspects of mental health here in the state of Idaho. So our first guest, or our guest today to kind of talk about this program, is Alejandra Del Toro. Please welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. And of course, I've got my partner, Dustin here. Dustin, you want to chime in real quick?
Yeah, just greetings. Thanks for tuning in this month. We're getting ready for Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk to Alejandra. So you are with Empower Idaho. And can you just tell people who may not know what Empower Idaho is, what you do for the people of Idaho, and in conjunction with the Division of Behavioral Health?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on here. I'm really excited to be on this podcast today. And Empower Idaho has been around since the early 2000s, I believe. We are a nonprofit organization that is functioning under Janus. Empower Idaho provides education and advocacy for adults with behavioral health conditions in the state of Idaho. We are funded by the Department of Health and Welfare, and we work closely along with each other to create really awesome educational activities for different pockets of people. So we have the general public, folks that just want to learn a little bit more about mental health. We also have some online trainings that provide free continuation credits for our behavioral health providers. That include counselors, social workers, peer support specialists, recovery specialists, all sorts of different free education for folks that are in this great workforce. As I stated, we also provide advocacy opportunities. So we share how people can use their voice, especially now during the legislative session, and just advocating for ourselves and for a greater Idaho.
Well, and I'm glad you're doing this work, but I want to ask you, help me understand even better, what folks need this service. What is the, for lack of better words, what is the demographic of folks who can utilize your services?
Absolutely. Well, the demographic is quite literally everybody. We have educational opportunities for everyone. So as I mentioned, we have trainings. All of our education is online. So we'll have webinars that are available online for the general public to just go in. It's a quick Zoom registration. And we hire counselors sometimes within the state, sometimes outside of the state, to provide these educational activities. For example, we just had one on how to use somatics as a tool for yourself, right? What you always hear about, the deep breaths and shaking it out and things like that. And we have this scientific-based studies that are shared to the general public through the webinar platform, where people can really go home and take these tools with them. We have these webinars live, and we also record them, so they're available on our website, empoweridaho.org. And we also have one on yoga coming up. I believe it's May 15th. It's called Using Your Body to Calm Your Mind. So that's just one example, as I mentioned, for the general public, mostly for the adult population, but then we also have stuff for our clinicians as well.
So this isn't necessarily just for folks who are dealing with a mental health issue or a crisis. This is for anyone who just needs to maintain a healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I think mental health is just something that does affect us all, whether we realize it or not. And so we really just want people to be able to go home and have tools available to them. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to spread awareness. We're here to spread education. I think it's no surprise that it's not very easy to find a counselor, not only because of availability, but also sometimes it's not within somebody's financial means to be able to see somebody. So if we can provide any sort of tools that are scientific based, of course, and share them with people, why not?
Yeah, that's a great point. You're talking about self-care. And in this era where it is so difficult to actually get an appointment, and sometimes people have to wait months before they can see a counselor, can you just talk to that point of what it takes to take care of yourself and that responsibility almost to get through it and those tools that you provide?
I think that's a really great question. I could definitely speak out of my opinion, but just full disclosure, I myself am not a clinician. So what I say is solely based off the things that I've learned. But the importance of self-care is paramount. I mean, we are told by our providers that we need to exercise, that we need to have a healthy diet, and having a good mental headspace, I believe, is equally as important in order to maintain that homeostasis within our body. So I think education is out there. I mean, we have education out there specifically for Idahoans. Reach out to us, check out our website. As I mentioned, all of our trainings are recorded, so that information isn't lost if you're not able to make it. You can hop on and learn a couple of breathing exercises by hopping on our website.
I love that. As we go forward into May, we're so excited for Mental Health Awareness Month. There's a lot of things going on. Empower Idaho does a great job. You release a toolkit, and you have this wonderful art competition. Can you talk about that competition and what that brings and adds to just the scene in May?
Yes, actually. So our theme this year, the state of Idaho's theme this year for Mental Health Month is Healing Through Community. And that couldn't be more true, I feel. We do truly seek and feel healing through our community. The art exhibition, actually, not so much a competition, but more so an exhibition for Idahoans, all ages, to submit original art pieces for our virtual art show that's happening on May 18th, happening through Zoom. And this is all artistic levels. You don't have to be a super great artist. You can be a beginner, just anybody that has a relationship with mental health that wants to share their story through art and artistic expression. We welcome them to join us. It's really just a space for people to have that solidarity and mutual support with other people that have gone through it. I've been with Empower Idaho for a couple of years now, and I think this is about to be my third or fourth year doing the art show. And you really have these aha moments in the art exhibition. You think, oh, it's virtual. You're not, we've been through the virtual rodeo before, but just that level of connection and support that you get from total strangers, it's a really special thing. And we are still accepting art pieces. So if anybody's interested in joining us, I highly encourage you to. There's no fee associated. No compensation associated. It's just a space for us to be there for each other and support each other and enjoy each other's artwork.
Awesome. And thank you again for the work you're doing. Thank you for getting all of this information out there. Once again, for anyone who wants to learn more about Empower Idaho, where can they go?
Yes. So you can hop on our website, empoweridaho.org. We are also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. All of our apps are just Empower Idaho. You can also reach out to anybody at the Department of Health and Welfare, because like I said, we are one of another, and we can definitely get you connected to resources. That is also something that we offer. We have a bunch of other mental health month activities that I encourage you guys to check out on our website. Again, that's empoweridaho.org.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Within the context of mental health, I think about it as a continuum. I think about those who need extra support and extra services to go about their daily lives. But on the other end of that continuum, there are many of us who are trying to perform better as athletes, as professionals, as human beings. Sometimes we need a little bit of help. Sometimes we need a little bit of coaching. So this next guest we brought in to give us some tips of how we can maintain and improve our mental health. Stay tuned.
Laura, please introduce yourself to everyone on the podcast, if you will.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Laura Cardoza. I'm an adjunct instructor at College of Idaho out in Caldwell. I teach in the Health and Human Performance Department. I've worked in the fitness, nutrition, and wellness industry for the past about 23 years. So all things, wellness are really important to me, and I'm, really passionate about and want to share with others.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Yeah. So Dustin and I were wondering, for those of us who are the supporters to those who need the support, there are times when we need whether it's just a case of the Mondays or just kind of having a bad day, whatever. What are some ways that we can improve our mental health, our mental fitness, so that we can be a little bit more effective?
Yeah, I have, which I'd love to share, my top 10 mental fitness or mental health tips. So I will start at number 10 and go to number 1, if that works for you guys.
Let her rip.
Awesome. And, when I was kind of coming up with these, I was thinking, I'm going to do like an order of maybe least to most important. But to be honest, they really are in no particular order. I was not able to do that. They're all important. And I think depending on each person, others might be more helpful than.
Because everyone has a different need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So number 10, find what makes you calm and peaceful and make that a priority in your life. So that'll look different for everyone. It could be sitting outside for a moment in the sunshine, listening to music, reading a book, taking your dog for a walk. Some people like the stress balls or fidget devices, sit down for a cup of coffee, just little things that for you personally help you to feel calm, help you to kind of take a moment for yourself. So that would be my number 10.
Well, I think for me, and Dustin, you can kick in too. I think for me, particularly on Sunday mornings, I call those my reggae Sunday mornings. I like to put on some nice little groove reggae, just kind of start out the Sunday right.
Yeah,
I love it.
Music for me, absolutely. I use all sorts of things. Love some good blues on Sunday too.
Nice. I'm an outside in the sunshine type of person. So
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Number 9. Invest in others. This can look a lot of different ways. Give someone a phone call, write a letter, volunteer somewhere. For me, it's coaching water polo, kids, that's important to me to give back in that way. Look for ways, to make other people feel uplifted, because truly, that also helps us in turn when we reach out to others. So,
awesome.
Number 8, lose the electronics. Electronics are awesome, but
unless you're listening to a good podcast.
Right. I mean, there's a time and a place, but at some point, turn it off, especially in the hours before bed. That's really important, because when we just stimulate our minds all the way up to when we're supposed to shut our mind down, and that's our time to rest and rejuvenate, having those electronics on, whatever it might be, right before bed is not conducive to sleeping well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Right before bed, I always use an actual physical book and read a physical book.
yes, yeah,
Just because there's no light, and it
yeah.
gives you like that tiredness for your eyes, and it actually helps me go to sleep a lot better.
And an actual book, I kind of remember those.
Yeah, paper.
Yeah, I love an actual book. I actually prefer it. I've never used like a Kindle or, a device for reading. I love to read. So yeah, I love that. I love the old fashioned book.
Right. It's exciting when you turn the page. It's
Back in our day when we were happy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, all right. Which kind of goes with number 7, get enough sleep. Sleep is essential. Because this is when not just our body, this is when our mind recovers and rejuvenates, for the next day. I mean, we all know what happens when we don't get enough sleep, right? Do you perform at your best? Do you feel your best? Absolutely not.
Not even close.
So it's something that, if our mental health is struggling, we're having a tough week, for me, it's one of the things that I think, gosh, have I been sleeping well? Have I been getting enough sleep? And that's something, that we can make a priority. Definitely.
Yeah, I like that. I struggle with it sometimes getting nightly sleep, and I'm a big fan of afternoon naps. If I need it, if I feel it, if you're tired enough that you need to fall asleep, go for it.
Absolutely.
But for the record, not on work days, right, Dustin?
Not on work days. I do fit under my desk, though. We learned that last week.
Really? You guys are fun.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun things going on there.
Yeah, mental fitness.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 6. Make a social connection in person. I know for me, I struggle with, I'm not I don't like to talk on the phone a lot. I'd rather, send a quick text message, and I have to be careful because, isolation can be dangerous. And if you don't have that personal connection, face to face, there's just something about that, at least for me and my personality, that's really important. And for me, I have to make that a priority to meet in person, to talk to someone face to face, to have that connection in person. So it can look a lot of different ways, but
that's huge. That's
I think
huge.
it's something we've lost a bit in society is just visiting with our friends, just stopping by somebody's house.
Yes.
Just pop in and give them a call. Say, hey, I'm coming over, and sit on their couch or their back porch. And talk.
It means a whole lot more. I feel like we get a whole lot more out of that than just, maybe a back and forth text message. How are you? Oh, I'm good. There's a time and a place for that, of course. But if you, I think it's just important to not let those face-to-face in-person connections, go too few and far in between.
Yeah.
So number 5 is one that has been super helpful to me. The importance of remembering the power of the word and. And so what that means is many things can be true at the same time. So for example, I can feel disappointed and still be thankful. I can be having a bad day and still be moving forward. I wrote some examples here. I can have an issue with someone where there's maybe some conflict, but I still love and care about them. I can feel sad about something or upset and still know there's good in my life and good in the world. So I think just really allowing yourself to recognize that both are true. You can have this and this, where they sometimes may be conflicting things. I think just realizing that for me has been extremely important to not get stuck on maybe the more negative one or the conflict that's going on or whatever it may be.
I think this is important because I've recognized that the older I get, the more I find myself falling to the trap of it's either this or to that.
Yes.
But if the movie Inside Out has taught us anything, that is far more complex than just this or that, right?
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
appreciate that one.
Yeah. And one more little part of that I wanted to add is just that recognizing that our feelings, like what we feel, is very important, and it's very we need to pay attention to that. However, our feelings don't always tell us the truth. We have to think through those feelings. I might feel like I'm a failure today for whatever reason, but that doesn't mean that that's true. That feeling can be thought about and even validated, but it needs to be thought through. So anyway, it kind of goes with it for me.
Yeah. There's kind of like that old saying that just because you had a thought doesn't mean it's true, type of something to that effect, right? It's just
definitely. Okay, number 4. Oh, this is a good one. The one that I talk about a lot in my classes, eating well, right? I mean, like all of us know we should eat well, right? But truly, if our food is fuel for our body, like gas is food for a vehicle, fuels a vehicle. So if you don't have quality nutrition in your body, and your physical body isn't going to be able to function, properly and effectively and efficiently, your mind will follow. We cannot not take care of our physical body that houses our mind, and think that our mind is going to stay healthy and strong as well. So very, very important. There's a lot of brain healthy foods. I'm not going to go into a nutrition spiel, even though that's, something I love.
Yes, I will put down the potato chips. We're good.
Okay. So I'll stop it there, because we all, most of us know kind of what nutritious foods are. So it's important. It's important. So eating well. Yep. Let's see here. Okay. Number 3, we're getting close. My number 3 is yoga. And I say yoga because I teach yoga. So obviously I find it extremely helpful with, mood boosting and my personal mental health. However, in that same category, of course, there's so many different relaxation techniques that can be helpful and effective, such as meditation is amazing. The Tai Chi, even just, breathing exercises can be super helpful, just bringing you down. And they actually have, I love that physical component of it. Because all of those activities I mentioned require, slower, deeper breathing. And what that does physically is it activates that parasympathetic nervous system, which takes us out of that flight, fight, or freeze mode, and, puts us into that I'm safe mode. And of course, obviously that's very important. So it's it's something you can physically do to help your mind, change directions if you're in that fight, flight, or freeze, which.
Yeah. Well, and Laura, you and I know each other outside of this. And so, that I'm a big fan of breath work, and I've actually done some stuff where I've put a heart rate monitor on, and I've tracked my heart rate when I'm meditating. And I noticed that my heart rate goes from being kind of erratic to smoothing out, but it stays about the same level. But when I start doing some breath work, I can see an overall drop of 20 beats a minute. Just with a breath work, not even holding your breath or anything like that, but just doing a controlled breathing. And I can see that I have the evidence. My heart rate drops by on average about 20 beats a minute. And I feel calm and right as rain when I'm done. So that, I think what you're talking about, yoga or whatever it is, that thing that you do it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. It's a big one. Big one. And honestly, I think that, if you haven't practiced it, it might not seem like it would make that big of a difference. But I've never met anyone who going from not, doing any of those activities to starting maybe a yoga class, and not being extremely, like maybe surprised, but just so benefited by, the benefits of it. So anyway.
And plus, yoga clothes are so comfortable. How can you be in a bad mood when you're wearing yoga clothes?
That's very true. That's very true. I love it at College of Idaho. Because I teach there. It's one of the classes that I teach, and I get a lot of the athletes. And yoga is not something that, a lot of college age athletes have experienced before. And I love watching how much they benefit and love yoga. It's really cool because, it can kind of have some stigmas to it, I guess. And I've got, my baseball players coming in and they're just like, oh, we're so ready for this. We need this. And it's really fun. It's fun.
That's cool
to see them benefit in lots of different ways. So, all right. So along with that, number 2 is move your body. But this is a little bit different than, number 3, which is more focused on the relaxation and the breathing. So number 2, move your body. This is where we want to increase our heart rate, right? Exercise is absolutely essential, not just for our physical health, but for our mental health as well. It causes the brain to release endorphins, serotonin, norepinephrine, all chemicals that are going to reduce stress, reduce even the damage that stress can do to our brains, because actual physical damage has been shown to happen in high stress, high anxiety situations. So super interesting stuff. And that's another thing we could probably talk about for hours. But
yeah, sure.
And along with saying move your body, exercise is important. It's important to also note that it's extremely wide in what it can look like from person to person. And everybody has to find what works for them, what type of outlet that's going to raise your heart rate that you enjoy. So it's not one of those things where, oh man, I have to run. I hate running. So how is this going to help me? But no, you don't have to run. Like there's just such a wide variety. So finding out what you enjoy is really important in the exercise realm.
Right. Try lots of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll like some and you'll hate some, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Keep trying until you like it. And I know you will find something you like.
And
so.
And here we are now with number 1. What's your number 1 tip?
So,
I know we should have a little like music to go with this.
I know. Okay, so my number 1 is get help when you need it. Really important to talk to someone. I feel like there's so many resources out there. I know previous guests on this particular podcast have given resources that are available. And so reaching out when you need it, taking that step to talk to someone is my number 1. It's important. Doing all of, number 10 through 2 are going to help us to kind of get out of those little ruts that we might get into, but recognizing when we need to talk to a professional is really important. And my number 1.
Awesome. Laura, thank you for all of these tips. I think they're wonderful. I think they're going to be helpful. And even if we just chose 1 or 2 of them to focus on,
absolutely,
I think it'll be helpful. Now it's just doing them is the trick.
Yeah. Yep.
So you kind of have to be your own advocate.
That's really important. Absolutely. And learn about yourself, pay attention, know yourself, know your body, know your mind, know what you need. So absolutely being your own advocate is essential.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for sharing these tips and your knowledge and expertise.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for listening and or watching this Idaho Behavioral Health Authority podcast. This has been brought to you by the OSO Communications and Training Team.
Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to pay attention to the series of events that are taking place in Mental Health Awareness Month. Take part, wear green, get out into your community, take a walk, do whatever you need to do to participate and show your support for the people who are in need and vulnerable in Idaho. And also, tune in next month where we do a lot of fun interviews at the Forensic Clinical Conference here in Boise.
See you next time.